We touched on it a little bit last week about that Rico Hines was potentially going to come over to Philadelphia. It was a potential thing. Now that he's officially an assistant coach, Eric, you know Rico Hines. Talk about what you're seeing from the kind of coaching staff that we have now with Bobby Jackson and now Rico Hines. What do you make of the kind of coaching staff that Nick Nurse is kind of surrounding?
I mean, I know Rico knows the game, and Rico's like obviously huge in player development. And I think it's not just development during the season. I think it'll be a carryover for the off season. It tells me that they're going to invest in younger players and develop them. That's how I kind of view Rico, the development of the current players, but also the development of younger players, and carry that not only in the season, but during the off season. That's where a lot of those, everybody talking about the LA runs, but it's not necessarily about just the playing. It's about the player development that Rico can do out there. As far as Bobby, I just, I think Bobby's worked his way up. I mean, I think he gets a guy that has played in the league. He knows the league. But I think probably the biggest aspect Bobby could bring to the team is a guy that has succeeded in his league at a role and being able to articulate that to players of how important your role can be, even if you aren't a starter in this league. So that's one thing I know that he can bring to the table.
That's great. Especially with a very expensive 3 or 4 guys. Yeah,
we're always going to have those. You will always have those guys.
Yeah, you need the role players to step up big time. And Rico Hines, I believe that was the run from last year where the one with Scotty Barnes was guarding like Harden all the way up the court, and Harden gave us an inspirational speech about it's good that you guys are out here playing hard. So it's cool that Harden and him are tight, and I know a lot of superstars are cool with Rico.
Yeah, he works out with James primarily a lot.
So yeah,
might be hitting at something.
Tea leaves.
Do you think
I'm not putting anything into that? I'm just saying that I know because I've had a conversation with Rico and he's brought up James Harden. Now, it was a long time ago, but he mentioned James' name as one of the guys that were there. And,
and he was there last year, so obviously.
Yeah, and it was kind of no surprise to me because James is from that area, so there was some familiarity there, some common ground. So it was nothing for me to kind of dig into per se.
Yeah.
How much does a guy like that, like Rico Hines, because he, holds these runs in California, but, has a lot of FaceTime with these players. How much does that kind of help, I guess, in the recruitment of getting guys to come to Philadelphia? Does that help, obviously, having a personal relationship?
No, I think that it may give guys more comfort to come, but I think the biggest recruitment in free agency is money. Let's not joke around. That is, the situation is going to get guys to change teams or go to teams. But I think having a guy there that you're comfortable with and that can help you, because that's someone you deal with or someone during the off season, it helps. It definitely helps. But I wouldn't think it would be the main reason why guys would come, because we know what that is.
Yeah.
It's nice to have once you're with that team, but I don't think it's drawing you to that team, if that makes sense.
It's a plus. It's definitely a plus.
Yeah. It's like, certain little perks of like business class flying. I've been flying a lot, so I've been thinking that, you don't do it for some of those small perks, but once you're there, you're like, hey, they also give you this. That's great.
Yeah.
Real silverware? Amazing.
Yeah.
A little more leg room.
A little more like half an inch even. You're like, hey, I noticed a little difference here. This is great.
Hey, that's important, dude. I was
goes
dying.
A long way.
I've been dying for the last week. My legs are so sore.
Yeah.